Hi guys, this is Marcus from ROCKMETALBANDS.com again. Today I've prepared a list with the 25 best hard rock and metal album covers in my opinion. But first of all I want to inform you that a brand new review of Sixgun Renegades is available on our official website. It's an adrenalinic hard rock band from Finland, which I highly recommend you. And then I also want to invite you to write and comment about the album covers that you think should have appeared on this list. So let's start. We can start with Anthrax. We are in alphabetical order, and Anthrax are featured with a couple of albums. First, Fistful of Metal, which was chosen because it's got strong impact and it perfectly fits the raw and primitive music of the debut album from the New York band. And then Persistence of Time. It's inspired by Salvador Dali's works, and I actually recommend you the remastered version because the clock is melting down, and that's how it was supposed to be. That's how the band wanted it, and not the record label. Then we have a couple of album covers from Black Sabbath. We have the same title album. It was drawn by Keith McMillan, and it features an evocative photo of a slim young girl dressed like a witch and probably holding a cat, and she's near a lake and a few rural houses in the British countryside, and all of that has a very strong supernatural and sinister mood. And then we have Paranoid. It's got a very special cover. That's why I have chosen it, because it features a man who is wearing a biker helmet and probably a pair of underpants, as well as a medieval knight's shield and sword, and all of that absolutely delivers the idea of someone being heavily paranoid, crazy, just like the title of the album suggests. Okay, then we completely change with the great Into the Pandemonium's cover by Celtic Frost. I chose it because it contains colors and lights that remind me of fairy tales, and it's probably drawn in water painting. Then we have a couple of album covers from Death. I have chosen Scream Bloody Gore and Spiritual Healing. I have chosen them because they were drawn by Edward Rrock, an American drawer with Slovak origins. He's got a particular style, and he's drawn hundreds of metal covers, even though he's always claimed that he actually prefers punk bands in the vein of Misfits. Then we've got a couple of album covers from Deep Purple. We start with In Rock, which immediately makes you understand what kind of genre they play. And although very effective and apparently simple, it's an album cover that required lots of work to suit the faces of the five members with the background, the white mountains and the sky, and it's not a parody, but it's a funny reference to the 5 US presidents carved in the rocks of the popular US mountains. The second from Deep Purple is The Battle Rages On, which is very special and one of a kind because it's really different than most hard rock and metal album covers. It contains two dragons, or more probably just one dragon, which is fighting with its tail, and they are both wrapped around the Deep Purple logo. And I also appreciated the fact that it's drawn on an ancient scroll, probably Chinese. That's the effect that they wanted to give. Then we move to Deftones. Okay, I know many of you will complain they are not metal. Actually, they are a new metal band, and so I think they belong to this category. And I've chosen Around the Fur because it's probably the sexiest album cover I have ever seen. Then we got Iron Maiden with The Number of the Beast. That was my first choice because it contains the band's mascot, Eddie, holding the devil like a puppet, and itself controls Eddie. So there is a mysterious meaning that behind that the band has never explained, and I like the antithesis that lies behind this concept. And then what could I have chosen as second album cover from Iron Maiden? Of course, Somewhere in Time. Why? Because it's an opus itself. There is a great number of details, references to old albums and singles from the British band, and there is also a reference to the EMI art director. There is Derek Riggs' stylized signature. There is the Eye of Horus, and then, for instance, we have the writing Kefir in Cyrillic, which means basically sour yogurt. And then another important reference is the club L'Amour, which was in Brooklyn. That's a club where Maiden played a lot. And they actually played a secret show under the name Charles and the Harlots in '88. And then we moved to Judas Priest with the great album Painkiller. It was drawn by Mark Wilkinson, and it's in oil or in acrylic. And I really appreciated the way that the metal parts were rendered. Okay, then we jump to something completely different. We got Korn with their same title album. It's a very disquieting album cover because it contains unexplainable and threatening shadows. So you can see it by my side, but I invite you to check it out better on vinyl because it's something that really has a horror vibe, and it couldn't appear but here, of course. Okay, then we got Rust in Peace from Megadeth. This album cover portrays the then 5 most powerful prime ministers around the globe. And I like it because it's so politically incorrect, and I think they wouldn't have been able to release such a cover today. We got censorship which is stronger than in the past, no matter what they want you to believe. Anyway, it was drawn really well, and I am referring to lights, color, or the rust details, very refined. And I also like that Vic Rattlehead is holding a plutonium bar in order to revive the captive dead alien. You should pay attention to the faces in ecstasy of the politicians. It's a very unreal scene. Okay, then we get to Metallica with a couple of album covers. First we've got Ride the Lightning because it's basically an easy album cover, but the use of the blue is really effective. And then Master of Puppets, because it's an album cover that immediately shows their position, their opposition to war, and the fact that soldiers are used as cannon fodder from politicians to go and die to a foreign land most of the times. It was painted by Don Brotigan, who's died recently. Okay, then we get to Turn Loose the Swans by My Dying Bride. Okay, it's a very obscure artwork because it's something that you wouldn't be able to understand if you didn't look at the remastered album, which contains an album cover where you can see the whole original painting as a whole. You can see that there is a figure covered in some strange liquid oozing down, and its arms are joined in prayer. You can also see that the original cover didn't feature the head of this person, not because it was decapitated, but just because they decided to cut it off from the cover. So that's why the original one is so mysterious and impossible to comprehend until recently. Okay, then we've got Survive by Nuclear Assault. The front cover and the back cover are interesting because they are of course related to the band's moniker, and they also show a funny way to be opposed to nuclear energy because of its dangers and all the problems that they bring in the years to come. Okay, then we've got Cause of Death for Obituary. Actually, this was originally meant to appear on a Sepultura album, but then it was destined to the Floridian band, and I think it was the right choice because it matches the album greatly. If there had to be death metal course at the university, they should show this cover and they should make you listen to Obituary because that's the basics of true death metal head. Okay, it features a giant fish or reptilian eye watching a scene with a mummified man in a giant spider web, and then you can see skulls and monsters coming out of the tree, and some man far away trying to escape a wooden tower. And you can also find gigantic fangs coming out of the ground. Then we got a couple of album covers from Pantera. We've got Vulgar Display of Power, which is aggressive and fit for the level of extremism that they added in thrash metal when they came out. And then we've got Far Beyond Driven, which is even more extreme. But I am referring to the original band album cover. Then we've got Suffocation with Breathing the Spawn. It was drawn by Dan Seagrave, who is another legendary drawer and painter, as do metal covers together with Joe Petagno and other colleagues. It features snakes and monsters with long nails and a tongue, and there are a lot of special elements that make it otherworldly. Maybe it belongs to another dimension, maybe another planet, who knows. Then we've got Suicidal Tendencies with the same titled album. I've chosen it because it's really unique. You can see that there are a lot of fans with Suicidal Tendencies logos and drawings on their t-shirts, and they are all shot from their backs, and altogether they create a square, and inside the square you can see the members of the band hanging down, tied their ankles. By the way, this is also the first CD that I owned. Okay, then we've got Tankard with The Morning After. It's a cover that represents the top as to the visual side of the German band's career. I don't know who drew it, but the perspective and is particular. It's like somebody watching from above, or the height of a painting. It's the scene of a young boy who is waking up after drinking too much. He probably had a lot of fun, and all of his room's objects are destroyed or untidy, and you can also see a woman's high-heeled shoes, so he probably had a lot of fun the night before. And the drawing and the colors are partly realistic and partly in the vein of comics. The last one is Angel Red by Voivod. I like it because of the colors. There is a very vivid violet. The sea and the sky are very realistic, and I believe that the artist started from them, and then he drew the rock, and then he added all the pirates and the other horrific characters. Okay, I invite you to watch all of these covers better on vinyl if you can. And I also want to mention these ones that couldn't make it. I suggest you give a look to the album covers by Cannibal Corpse, Cryptopsy, Devourment, Lividity, Malevolent Creation, Mortician, Morbid Angel, the first by Carcass, Humanior by Cattle Decapitation. I hope you liked this video, and I want you to leave a comment, and if you haven't done it yet, you can subscribe to this channel, and you can spur us to do even better with your comments. You can find more reviews down below through our official website, and I am asking you to tell me which of these 25 album covers is the one of an album you wish me to review, and then I serve the ones that will get the most votes. Thanks, and see you soon.